Has this season's relationship expert already inserted herself into the narrative of the couples that she's supposed to be coaching?
I think she has, based on that question, she asked the group whether they wanted to be married 5 times like her mom. She just met them. Is she gonna coach them based on the ghosts in her past or help them with their relationships going forward?
Welcome to Cliff Alerts. Today we're going to be talking about OWN Network's reality-based TV series, Put a Ring on It, season number 4, episode number 1.
But before we get into it, please like, share, and subscribe. Please click that like button. It will help us out in the algorithm. Tennessee comments. We're gonna begin with Dunbar and Chance.
Mhm.
They have been dating for 1 year. Dunbar seems like a funny dude. He's an ex-football player.
NFL, yes, sir.
They seem to be equally matched. Chance said she lost her mom early in her life. She was 8 years old when her mom died, and she was raised by her father. Dunbar, you gotta have a little some to work with what he's got going on.
Right, because he's used to kind of talking and actually demonstrating that kind of machismo on the gridiron, and that kind of comes across in his personal life as well.
So, Chance is a beautiful girl, but you could tell she's a little younger than Dunbar, and she meets with Philip. That's her first date.
Yeah, young brother from New
From New
York.
York. He
Big guy.
rolled up in the spot, went into Dunbar's house. It looks like a rental. It doesn't have any of Dunbar or Chance personalities. Dunbar went for his throat immediately. He asked the brother if he has his mama, if he has his father intact, whether he has children.
Oh, he ran the old man game on Philip right from the jump.
And then he said, well, you're two beautiful black people, so let's say a word of prayer.
Hmm.
He asked Chance to hold his heart. She stood behind him, holding on to his chest while he grabbed Philip's hand. And
Three of them prayed, right?
and one thing I appreciate, the Lord knows where we are. Make no sense to sugarcoat or do a fugazi.
Which is
He's
not what Dunbar did.
He said that, Lord, I've been saved for a short period of time. I think that's an honest prayer. And he said in his prayer, the same hands that blessed Philip could wreck him all at the same time. And Philip was
He didn't,
taken aback.
he didn't say wreck, he said bless.
Philip was taken aback because he said he's
Every
never
time you've
been
been
threatened
threatened.
in a prayer.
Yeah, part of the premise of the show is to tempt these people into one place or another
And
place.
that's what I have a challenge with. Nobody trying to run to temptation.
Nope. If you're
So
smart,
if you're smart,
but there are
and
some
trying
people
to
who do that.
avoid temptations, but
Right.
temptation is before them nonetheless.
As they're walking into the restroom, my man Philip tried to do that smooth move, young boy move, and grab her hand. She's like, "Hold up, player, not yet. Way too soon for that."
But
Okay,
notice she wanted his hand to help out the step.
right.
Dunbar treats her like a lady.
Yeah,
He
which is something that maybe ought to be a cue to Philip to say, "Hey, look, this is no ordinary chick." They have a lot of similarities. Both of them are pretty much extroverted people who are not afraid to let you know
right.
and don't mind talking a little bit of trash.
And Chance has some alpha tendencies, and I think that's because she was raised by
Her
her
father,
father.
right,
So
right,
she picked up a thing or two,
and that's what I would tend to think that she would be attracted
attracted to.
to and or looking for in somebody else.
Before Philip and Chance left the house, Dunbar told them that, he taking his lady out to bring him back some food.
Yeah, and I would have been like, "Oh, hell no, maybe." And if I had said, if I had thought about it at the time, I'd have said, "Okay, I'll hook you up with a Happy Meal, bro." Philip actually came back with something to eat and didn't really understand that that wasn't the thing to do for a number of different reasons. First of all, Dunbar wasn't looking for that to begin with.
He
Okay,
was not.
and had I been in his shoes, and I'm saying Philip's shoes, I would ain't no way in hell I would have done that.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. And also too, I would not have stepped in the house like he did. That was
Mm,
mistake number 2 from my vantage point.
yes.
He should have stayed
He
outside on
stood.
the patio and said, "You know what? He had a great date." That's not what he did. He actually stepped in and handed that bag of food he got or whatever it was. Already, Dunbar is in his headspace.
right. And at the end of it, they tried to say that Dunbar was being dominant over Chance. But I don't think that's the situation simply because it was Philip's decision to go and buy that food.
Albeit, in
It
my opinion,
was
as
it
wrong as
was
it was,
Philip's decision
it was
to
his
try to step in the house and
right.
show Dunbar
Mm.
what he bought. He clearly wouldn't work with Chance because she looking for a strong man, and Philip, as nice as he he ain't it.
He ain't ready.
No.
The fact that he's young is not an excuse in your mind.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because these young bucks these days, they're not checking for Dunbar and his request to bring food.
But there was something that, in the way of an impression that Dunbar left on his mind because he did return with the food. That he,
And that
whether he was serious or not, he
and
did
that was
return.
on him, not
You're
Dunbar.
right. You're right.
He made the decision to do
I
that.
agree. All
So we're
right.
gonna move on to
Joya and Jasha.
Joy
Well,
and Jasha. They have been dating for 2 years. She has a son who's 11 years old, and
mhm.
she wants to be married and have a baby. And he's not ready to have a baby,
Not yet.
and she is right there. She wants a child.
He kind of wants things to kind of naturally, in his mind, progress to that point, right?
And she said they travel a lot.
Those
He wants to continue that tradition. He likes that freedom
that vibe.
and that vibe, and he's comfortable where he is. And she wants to blow him out of the spot, so to speak, to get that ring and to get those babies running around her feet.
Right. It seems like they have, in terms of expectations, two different pages that they're on.
Right,
From potentially their potential life book together.
right.
Yeah.
Kyle is Joya's date. He comes through, introduces himself to Jasha. He had some little slick remarks to make that he's gonna take away her from him, which is nonsensical. You just laid eyes on the woman. One thing he mentioned, if she was his woman, they'll be going to Piedmont Park for a picnic,
Which is something that
which is
she had
something
been asking and or requesting from Jason for seemingly a long period of
done,
time,
and he
and
has not done it.
he'd not stepped up to it.
Right.
So that was kind of a pleasant surprise from her end, I would imagine.
Her wanting a picnic, that ain't no big hope.
It ain't a hard
He
lift.
he can, if he doesn't want to cook, he could get something prepared at a specialty shop or what have you, and just hook it up. That's simply enough. Woman will give you cues, and all you have to do is keep those cues in mind. So when the opportunity comes, you can perform. So experience each other because the adventures you have with your beloved means a whole lot in those times when you're having issues or challenges or all that stuff. You could remember the good things about the person, and that will help keep you together.
Yeah, they also began to talk about their backgrounds and experience, and that's when they kind of both realized that they're both parents.
Hmm.
And from Kyle's end, I had to give that brother a hell of a credit because he is a parent of three, of four rather total. Only one of his is biological, and I had to dap him up real strong on that, because a man who would take care of other man's children there's got to be something to that that's commendable and respectable.
Lawyer asked Jasha
Mhm.
before leaving the house whether there are any boundaries. So she's talking with Kyle at the restaurant. He has some crumbs on his beard and she removes it with a napkin. I don't see anything wrong with that personally.
Okay.
You tell someone if they have broccoli in their teeth.
Yeah, and there
That
was a little flirtation going on back and forth between the two and all that, but
I didn't see a whole lot of that
okay,
personally.
okay, I did.
I thought that Kyle wanted to make a good impression, so he maybe stepped up his game a little bit.
Okay.
But what I found confusing is when Joya got back to the house after the date, she mentions that to Jasha as if, you said you didn't want to establish any boundaries, but this is what happened. I removed something from his beard.
Right,
He kissed my hand.
right, because she was posing that to Jason just to kind of gauge, what kind of response
Rob,
she would
she's gonna get from him.
get out of him, and to see, where those boundaries that were unspoken are, as it relates to them going through this process.
But Jay flipped the script on her.
He did.
He said, "Well, those things are something that a
The gentleman
gentleman will
would
do
do.
when he kisses your hand, and
Right.
that's the same thing I would do."
Hmm.
And she got a little tight, and she said,
Oh,
"Well,
but it's not the
it's
same
not the same
same situation.
thing."
Why not?
But sister, it actually
Why
is.
not?
While you on these dates, you got to secure who is at the house, and I think that um, Joya may be a little extra, so I'm gonna keep my eyes on her.
Well, and finally there was Ricky and Catherine. They were
Been in a
apart
relationship for 2 years, but they've known each other as
for
friends for
a
10.
decade. Right.
But he is divorced.
Right.
She wants to be married. She
Right.
wants a relationship with him, but she's afraid that he is using the upset that he had in his first marriage to keep her at bay.
Right. And that's frustrating for her because of what she thinks is baggage that has been brought forward that she has no part
Right,
in and should not be responsible for.
right.
And and in a large way, I agree.
We enter Mark. Mark is Catherine's date. Mark comes through. He is 32 years old. He has been married and divorced, and he has a child, and he is from New Jersey.
Okay.
So Mark is a jokester. He's cracking jokes. He brings flowers with him. I just thought that the presentation of the flowers didn't look like it was a fresh bouquet of flowers. The first thing women typically do when they get flowers is to find a vase. Catherine decided to take the flowers to the date, and I thought that was odd. So Catherine doesn't look like she gets flowers often, and even Mark commented on that. When's the last time you got flowers? And I believe
Ricky
Ricky
said,
hemmed or haw about
yeah,
Valentine's Day, but
right.
it doesn't. And another thing he said, he doesn't take her out often. He already walking through the door got two things up on Ricky.
Mm,
He brought her flowers, and he's taking her out.
right.
So they go to a smoothie joint and they're talking. Both of them are gamers. She's attracted to him. She likes his vibe. He makes some good jokes.
And he's attracted to
He's
her as
attracted to her
well.
as well.
Right, right. I think he
So,
was, I think he was very, I guess, reasonable in terms of his approach to, not only the situation but also to her.
yeah. But
I think he was feeling Catherine, but I don't think that, he's ready to kind of like he was ready to go all out yet. I mean, he just met her. I think he did say
he
by the
did
end of
say
their date.
they're probably going
Yeah,
to have an next
exactly.
date.
He said he felt
Very
confident about
confident. Catherine was lapping it up. Her body language, she was turned to him. Her leg was up. She was laughing and moving forward, and they had a nice little chemistry stuff going on that if they choose to, they can build on it
it. Where the
with
couples reconvene. That's exactly
with
right.
the group
Hmm.
session.
Hmm.
And that this is where I thought that Dr. Johnson was extra.
She
And I mean
inserted
extra
herself.
extra
Right.
because I don't know about you guys. Some of you guys believe in therapy. The whole premise is they listen to you. You tell them their story. Now the doctor started off that she went to Spelman, that that her mother died at 56 years old, and she was married 5 times,
And
and
that
she's
her
she,
grandmother was married a number of times, and that her father also had multiple relationships as well.
so the doctor has gone through some issues. So I was surprised when she sort of like got in Dunbar's face and told him that he's trying to control Chance. Now, Chance tried twice to tell her this is not the case, but the doctor, it seemed, didn't even hear her. Now, the point of therapy is for someone to hear you out. And then they sort of pivot like his behavior towards Philip was disrespectful. What about her disrespect, not listening to what Chance has anything to say?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of an overreach
Yes, it was.
on her as a relationship coach to project onto somebody who has had an entirely different experience than she has, and say that and presume that it could happen, or offer that as a viable possibility for them to end up like her parents did and
Really?
get. go through 5 different marriages and
And
what
she
have
hasn't
you. Yeah.
sat down with them to say, "Hey, Dumba, I think you could be dominating. You gotta watch." Immediately out the gate started, "Oh, you're dominating." And Chance doesn't look like a shrinking violet.
She is
She
certainly not
looks
that.
like she could take care of herself.
And she's confident enough to be able to speak her truth and
Right.
mean what she says and be confident about why she said it.
Right, where she is right now.
Right, and
So why the doctor just dismissed that completely and seemed to me that she was attacking both of them. And I didn't like that. That didn't sit well with me. And I particularly didn't like when she asked the group whether they wanted to be married 5 times. That's not their story. That's
well,
hers.
there
Why is
was
she inserting her story into their
it was a
situation?
little bit, I could be wrong about this, but it seemed like it was a little bit of projection for me.
If their upset was that Dunbar dominated the date to the
From their
extent
from
from
their
their point of
from
view,
their perception, right.
from their point of view. But
Mhm.
I have issue with that. Philip is the one who decided to bring the food. Nobody, Dunbar may have told him that, but he decided that that's what he did.
Mm.
Philip decided to try to step into the door rather than stay on the stoop.
That was a mistake that
That's
he
a
made,
mistake that he made.
right?
Philip and Chance, once they left the house, they had a good date. Therefore, Dunbar's prayer and all that issue was talking prior to them leaving the house did not affect the quality of their date. So where did it come in that oh he is dominating stuff? I was taken aback with all that energy she was laying at the feet of Chance and Dunbar. Had our therapist shown up like that, that would be the last session we would have with them.
Okay.
The person has to build a relationship with the therapist for them to then say, hey, they both have to trust each other.
Right.
The partners have to trust the therapist to reveal the real problem.
I noticed, their their facial expressions, I think from Chance's, perspective, it seemed like to me that she, was maybe a little caught off guard by that
Yes, they both were.
and a little indignant by it
They both
because
were.
I thought her responses were valid, but I thought from Dunbar's, point, he kind of felt like he was being challenged unnecessarily,
I,
okay,
I
and he was surprised by it. He didn't expect it.
I personally will miss Dr. Nicole. This is not her approach. She may be a little slow to say stuff, and when she says something, it may not be clear. But she didn't have this personality in your face kind of thing like this sister is exuding.
In the form of Dr. Johnson. Alright.
So that's all we got on that. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. You can send the comments, tell us what you think. God keep you and be in peace this week. You're going to get a momentum of joy and peace. It's not easy out there, but know that you are loved and that we are praying for you. God bless you. Have a good one.
See y'all.